Welcome to Creative Chelsea. For today's video, I'd like to share with you another set of alternative cards that I made using the August 2019 paper pumpkin kit called The Gift of Fall. So with these cards, I wanted to use die cut pieces that I didn't use in my previous video. So if you haven't seen that, then after this one, go and check it out. So here are my sample cards, so you can get an idea of what we're going to be making. And then this one. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to first start with the yellow card. And for this one, we really need minimal extra pieces. We're going to be using a white card base, and then a card front that is in crushed curry cardstock, and then some of the pieces from the kit. So let's go ahead and start with the cardstock. And you can see from my sample card that I have embossed this crushed curry cardstock with the Layered Leaves 3D embossing folder by Stampin' Up. And I'm just going to do this off screen. So if you don't know how to use the Big Shot and you'd like to learn, I do have a video that I'll link. I'll put the link in the description below. All right, so we've done that, and you can see that there are two sides. There's a raised side and then an imprint side where it goes down. So for this card, I'm going to use the raised side going up. And then when I apply this, when I apply embossed cardstock to my cards, I like to use a thicker adhesive. So this is the tear and tape adhesive. And I'll just put it along the edges. And let's go ahead and apply that to our card. And it just gets centered right on top of our card base. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is add these leaves. And the front of these leaves has a pattern or is in crumb cake. And I felt like they were getting lost when I was using them with the pattern tag. So what we're going to do is we are going to sponge on a different color on the back so it's nice and solid. So let me show you how I did that. I'm using the Mary Merlot Stampin' Spot that came with the kit, and then I've got these Stampin' sponges, and they just go on your finger, which is kind of fun. So you just open up your ink, you get some ink on your sponge. What are these called? Oh, they're called daubers. That's what they're called. And the nice thing about it is it gives you a variation of color. So it's not like we just, cut these out of the cardstock and it's all one shade of the color. It's got some variation, which is really fun to have on this card. And then these bigger ones in the pretty peacock. And Stampin' Up! Also sells these daubers, and they are really fun. And it comes in, there's a lot of them that come in the pack. So I will make sure to have that in the supplies needed in the descriptions below, so you can look into that. You can daub them on or rub them, depending on what kind of look you're wanting. Okay. And then, while we have our ink out, let's go ahead and stamp our greeting. So there are different sizes of these greeting pieces. Some are big, longer, and some are shorter. I guess wider, depending on which way you're saying. So this one's wide and this one's a little bit thinner. So it doesn't really matter. All the greetings that I've found fit on both. It just kind of depends on how you want your card to look, depending on which one you're using. Okay. So this time around, I'm going to use the Grateful for Family Like You. I've been using the Thankful for Friends Like You a lot and realized I should probably also send some cards to my family. All right, so now we're ready to assemble. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run some snail on this side of my tag. And then I'm going to just eyeball where these go. Okay. There we go. So then once I've got that on, I can go ahead and add my tag to the top. Now, if you are worried about it staying on the embossed folder, you can use some tear and tape just to give it that little extra bit of adhesive so it doesn't come off. That just goes on the right side of your card. And then we're going to go ahead and do this bird's nest kind of look with the linen thread that came in the kit. So I do this all the time, but I'll just walk you through it again. So I just take the linen thread and wrap it around my hand loosely 3 times, and then go ahead and cut it. And then on the back of my greeting, I'm going to run some snail, and then just kind of open this up and just lay it down and then you can decide if you want to snip these extra little pieces that hang off or keep them. I'm going to snip this one. Actually, I'm just going to fold it under. There we go. Okay. Okay, so once you've got your linen thread wrapped around the back, go ahead and add some dimensionals. And I like to place them over the linen thread just to make sure it all stays down. And then let's put the leaves on. And they're just supposed to go behind. Like that. Okay. And now just place this wherever you'd like on your card. I'm going to kind of go for middle and kind of like that. And then the very last step is to add your sequins. And you can put however many you'd like. You can do just a couple, or you can do a lot. There. So we did 5. Maybe I'll add one more up here. There we go. So we've got 3 over here, 1 over here for this little blank area, and then 2 on that side. Okay, so that card is done. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, so the next card, we use 2 of these die cut circles that are in like a wreath shape. And what I've done is I've put a whole one, and then I've cut one in half, and then put the extra bit from this whole one here at the bottom. And you really could arrange these circles however you would like, so that you get the look that is pleasing to your eye. So I'm just going to go ahead and place these probably in a similar place as before. Just put down some snail. Put this one down as well. And then you just need to turn it over, and using your paper snips, trim off that extra piece. The same on this one. And now you can place them wherever you want. So this one can go right about there, and that one down here. Great. So the next thing we're going to do is add this strip of Old Olive cardstock. It's just a 1-inch strip, and we'll just place that. You can place it wherever. I kind of liked filling up this space down here, or we could even flip it and go horizontally if you'd like. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is add some linen thread. And for this, I'm going to wrap it around twice. So I need to have at least 8 inches to wrap once, so then another 8 inches to wrap a second time, and then about 4 to 5 inches to do the bow. And then in previous videos, I've done this little trick, but I just match the edges of the twine and then put it about where I think that bow will go. Wrap it to around the back, and then string it through that loop and adjust if you need to. Okay, and then before tightening, you just want to loop it under and then loop it through that loop that you just created, and then you can tighten, and then you just pull back on the string and you get it pretty easy knot. And then from there you can go ahead and tie your bow. And then if it's not laying totally where you want it, you can always just add a small glue dot right there to keep that bow in place. Okay, I could fiddle with bows like all day long. So the next thing would be to stamp your greeting. And again, we're just going to use the Grateful for Family Like You, and it's in the Pretty Peacock ink. And I do list all the supplies that I use to make these cards in the description box below. And there is a link to Stampin' Up's website where you can purchase any of the products you see me using today. And then just use the dimensionals to pop that up. And this one I just wanted to sit right on top of that string. So I'm going to bring it down just a little bit, like that. Okay, and then we can add this to our card base. And you can use any card base you like. I just like white because it's really easy to write inside, and it also kind of pulls in the white from the label. And that just gets centered with a little border around it. Sometimes I'll flip it over and rub. And there we go. Oh, rhinestones. We definitely need that bling, don't we? I guess they're not rhinestones, they're sequins. I do love rhinestones though. Okay, there we go. Now we're finished. Great looking card. Okay, so our last card is has some earthy colors. And again, we're using the embossing folder on the back. So this is the soft suede cardstock, and I'm just going to run it through the embossing folder in the Big Shot. So again, I used the layered leaves folder, and this time I'm going to use the side that is pressed into the cardstock. So let's go ahead and add that to our card base. Use the tear and tape. And then that just gets centered. And this cardstock is cut a little bit smaller than I normally do for my card fronts. And then let's work with our inks. So the first thing I'd like to do is stamp. So we're going to do the berry leaf stamp in the corners. We're going to do our greeting, and then we're going to use the Mary Merlot and do some shading. And this is actually rich Razzleberry cardstock. And then I used the Mary Merlot to kind of give it some depth. So I'll show you how I did all that. All right, so let's start with the berries. And now we get the rich razzleberry and our sponge dauber. And we're just going to get some ink on there and then run it in a circle. So wherever you start, it's going to be darker, and then it kind of lightens up, and just kind of randomly add some color. And it's okay if it kind of feels a little bit polka dotted because of the centers, and you can also run a little bit along the edges if you want. Because we cover up a lot of the cardstock with the card, so you just want some variation to that color. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this. So I'm going to put some tear and tape in the middle and some snail. And this piece is longer than the soft suede piece, so I'm just standing it up so that it gets even with those edges. And I've left a little piece of the soft suede peeking out on the left. So we need to add some adhesive here in the middle. And then we're going to add our vellum berry over our stamped images. And that's just going to, oh, before we do that, I want to just kind of roll these up a little bit. So I'm just putting my fingernail into the vellum, and that just kind of gives it a little bit of structure so that it's not just laying flat. Great. Then we're going to take our crushed curry ribbon. Go ahead and cut an edge, cut an angle off one side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap. So I'm going to start off of my crumb cake cardstock, and then I'm going to wrap around and below it, and then I'm going to cut it off. Like that. Okay, so I kind of have this wrapped ribbon look around my cardstock piece. Let's actually add both these pieces with some dimensionals. So turn them both over and grab your dimensionals. And then this kind of goes in the top corner, kind of. So we're leaving a little bit of the rich Razzleberry cardstock on the left again, and we're leaving a bigger gap here at the bottom. And then this just goes wherever you want it. So if you want it centered, you can put it centered, or you can move it to the left a little bit. And then the last thing would be the sequins. And I just added these I added 3 on the top and 3 along the bottom. Where should I put this last one? Just stick it there. Okay, so that third card is done. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit creativechelsea.com for more information about Paper Pumpkin and to start getting your monthly kit. Have a creative day. Bye.